The morning sun rose over New Eden Colony like it had for the past 8 years. The settlement stretched across the green valley, with neat rows of houses and farms. Children played in the yards while their parents worked in the fields. Nobody expected this day to be different from any other. Bobby Miller ran through the tall grass behind his family's farm. At 14, he was the oldest of the 7 Miller children and always led their adventures. His little sister Katie followed close, behind, her blonde hair bouncing as she ran. She was 12 and never wanted to miss out on anything Bobby did. "Wait for us," called Sam from somewhere behind them. He was 10 and always tried to keep up with his older siblings. Emma came next at 9 years old, carrying little Amy, who was only 6. Luke, who was 8, ran alongside them with a big smile on his face. The youngest was Timmy, just 7 years old, who stumbled as he tried to match their speed. The children had spent the morning picking wildflowers in the meadow. Their mother Mary had taught them about all the different types that grew on New Eden. Katie carried a bunch of purple ones, while Emma had picked yellow flowers that looked like tiny suns. Even little Amy clutched a few white flowers in her small hands. "Look," Bobby pointed to the sky. A silver ship was coming down from the clouds. It was bigger than the supply ships that visited the colony every few months. This one looked different. It had sharp edges and dark windows. The ship landed in the field about 100 yards away from where the children stood. The grass bent, flat under the force of its engines. When the engines stopped, everything became very quiet. "Should we go back home?" Katie asked. She moved closer to Bobby and took his hand. "It's probably just visitors," Bobby said. He tried to sound brave, but his voice shook a little. "Remember when the traders came last month? Mom and Dad said we should always be friendly to visitors." The ship's door opened with a loud hiss. 7 tall figures walked out. They looked like people but different. Their skin was gray and they had no hair. They wore dark uniforms with symbols. The children could not read. Each one carried a weapon that looked like a rifle but with glowing parts. "Maybe they're lost," Emma whispered. "We should help them." The Miller children had been taught to be kind to everyone. Their parents always said that being friendly was the right thing to do. New Eden Colony was a peaceful place where neighbors helped each other and strangers were welcome. Bobby made his decision. "Come on, let's say hello." The 7 children walked across the field toward the aliens. Bobby held Katie's hand while Sam helped Emma carry Amy. Luke and Timmy stayed close together. They moved slowly and carefully, the way their father had taught them when approaching new animals on the farm. When they got closer, Bobby could see that the aliens were watching them. The aliens held their weapons ready but pointed down at the ground. The children stopped about 20 feet away. "Hello," Bobby called out. He raised his free hand and waved. "Welcome to New Eden Colony." Katie stepped forward with her flowers. "These are for you," she said in her sweet voice. She held out the purple flowers like a gift. Emma did the same with her yellow flowers. "They smell really nice," she told the aliens. Little Amy broke free from Emma and ran toward the nearest alien. She held up her white flowers with both hands. "Pretty," she said, smiling her biggest smile. The alien soldiers looked at each other. They spoke in their own language with harsh sounds the children could not understand. One of them, who seemed to be their leader, raised his weapon higher. "We're just kids," Sam said. He was starting to feel scared. "We live here with our mom and dad." Luke pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket. It was a drawing he had made that morning of their farm and family. He held it up to show the aliens. "This is where we live," he said proudly. Timmy giggled and ran in a small circle. He was too young to understand that something might be wrong. To him, the aliens were just new friends to play with. The alien leader spoke sharply to his soldiers. They all raised their weapons at the same time. The barrels of their rifles began to glow with blue light. Bobby felt something cold in his stomach. This was not how friendly meetings were supposed to go. "Wait," he said, holding up both hands. "We're not dangerous, we're just children." Katie stepped behind Bobby but kept holding her flowers. "Did we do something wrong?" she asked. The alien leader's finger moved to the trigger of his weapon. He spoke one word in his language that sounded like an order. Bobby tried to shield his sisters and brothers. "Run!" he shouted. The blue light erupted from all 7 alien weapons at once. The energy beams cut through the morning air faster than the children could move. Bobby felt the heat hit his chest. Katie screamed his name. Sam reached for Emma's hand but never touched it. The alien weapons fired for 3 seconds. When the light faded, 7 small bodies lay still in the grass. The flowers they had picked that morning were scattered around them, already beginning to wilt in the alien sun. The alien leader spoke into a device on his wrist. He reported to his commander that they had neutralized a potential threat. His soldiers checked the area for other dangers but found only wildflowers and a child's drawing of a happy family. Within minutes, the aliens returned to their ship and flew away. They left behind only burned grass and 7 children who would never run through the meadows again. Jake Harrison got the emergency call 20 minutes later. As colony administrator, he had to deal with problems, but nothing had prepared him for this. When he reached the field with the medical team, he fell to his knees in the trampled grass. The flowers were still there, scattered like tiny stars around the children. Jake picked up Luke's drawing with shaking hands. It showed stick figures of a family standing in front of a house with a sun shining overhead and the words, "My family," written in crayon at the top. Jake Harrison looked up at the empty sky and knew that everything had just changed forever. The emergency message from New Eden Colony reached Earth in 6 hours. Jake Harrison's report was short and clear. 7 human children were dead, killed by alien soldiers for no reason. The children had been offering flowers. President Helen Davis read the report 3 times before she believed it. She sat in her office in the White House staring at the photos Jake had sent. 7 small bodies in a field, scattered flowers, a child's drawing of a happy family. Helen had been president for 4 years. She had dealt with wars, disasters, and diplomatic problems, but nothing had prepared her for this. She picked up her secure phone and called an emergency meeting. Within 2 hours, the most important people in Earth's government sat around the big table in the Situation Room. Defense Secretary Carl Johnson had flown back from his vacation. General Lisa Brooks came straight from the military base in Colorado. Director of Colonial Affairs Susan Martinez arrived from her office in New York. "Tell me exactly what happened," Helen said to Jake Harrison, who appeared on the main screen, from New Eden Colony. Jake's voice was steady, but his eyes were red. The Zephyrian patrol ship landed at Oro 900 local time. 7 children from the Miller family approached the aliens. They were carrying flowers and drawings. The aliens shot them without warning. All 7 children died instantly. "Were the children armed?" General Brooks asked. "No, ma'am. The oldest was 14. The youngest was 6. They had flowers and a crayon drawing." Carl Johnson leaned forward. "Do we have video?" "Yes, sir. The colony security drones recorded everything. I'm sending the files now." The room went silent as they watched the security footage on the big screen. They saw Bobby Miller wave to the aliens. They saw Katie offer her purple flowers. They saw little Amy run forward with her white flowers and her biggest smile. They saw the alien weapons charge up with blue light. Helen Davis closed her eyes when the weapons fired. When she opened them, Carl Johnson was gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles were white. Susan Martinez had tears running down her face. General Brooks stared at the screen with cold anger. "How long ago did this happen?" Helen asked. 18 hours ago, Madam President." "Have the Zephyrians made any contact?" "Not directly, but their embassy on Mars sent a message to Colonial Command 2 hours ago." Helen turned to Susan Martinez. "What did they say?" Susan's voice was tight with anger. "They said their soldiers followed proper military procedure. They claim the children's approach was classified as a potential threat. They offer their regrets for what they call a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Carl Johnson stood up fast, his chair rolling backward. 7 children are dead and they call it a misunderstanding?" General Brooks spoke quietly, but her words cut through the room like a knife. "They're not sorry. They're defending what their soldiers did." Helen looked around the table at her advisors. "Options. We demand they turn over the soldiers for trial," Susan said. "They won't do it," Carl replied. "The Zephyrians have never admitted fault for anything. Ever. Economic sanctions, suggested the Secretary of Treasury, who had joined by video link. Won't work fast enough, General Brooks said. The Zephyrians don't trade much with us anyway. Helen stood up and walked to the big map on the wall. It showed human space with all the colonies marked in blue. New Eden was a small dot on the edge of explored territory. What's our military position? We have 47 colonies, General Brooks said. Most have small defense forces. The Colonial Defense Fleet has 60 ships total. The Zephyrians have over 300 military vessels. Numbers don't tell the whole story, Carl said. Our technology is different, in some ways better. Helen turned back to the table. I want to speak to the Zephyrian ambassador. 2 hours later, Ambassador Quintal appeared on the main screen. The Zephyrian looked exactly like the soldiers in the security video. Gray skin, no hair, cold black eyes. Madam President, Quintal said. His voice was flat and showed no emotion. I understand you wish to discuss the incident at New Eden. 7 children are dead, Helen said. Human children, murdered by your soldiers. The soldiers followed proper procedure. When approached by unknown individuals, military protocol requires threat assessment and response. They were children carrying flowers. My soldiers could not determine their intent. Better to eliminate a potential threat than risk soldier safety. Helen felt her anger rising but kept her voice calm. What about justice for these families? There will be no justice because no crime was committed. The soldiers acted correctly according to Zephyrian military law. Then we have nothing more to discuss. I hope this unfortunate misunderstanding will not affect relations between our peoples. Helen looked directly into the camera. Ambassador, let me make something very clear. Those children had names. Bobby, Katie, Sam, Emma, Luke, Amy, and Timmy Miller. They were not threats. They were not soldiers. They were children who died because your people shoot first and ask questions never. Madam President, I understand you are emotional about this incident, but Helen cut him off. This conversation is over. The screen went black. Helen turned to General Brooks. Lisa, I want you to issue new orders to all colonial defense forces. Any Zephyrian military vessel encountered in human space is to be considered hostile. Shoot. First. No warnings, no questions. Ma'am, that's essentially a declaration of war. No, General, it's a declaration that we protect our children. The Zephyrians have made their position clear. They will kill our kids and call it proper procedure. We're making our position clear too. Carl Johnson nodded slowly. What about their civilian ships? Civilian ships will be escorted out of human space but not attacked. This is about their military, not their people. The other alien races will want explanations, Susan warned. Then we'll explain, Helen said. 7 human children offered flowers to alien visitors and were murdered for it. Any species that thinks that's acceptable can stay out of human space too. General Brooks was already typing orders into her secure tablet. How do we announce this? Helen walked back to her chair and sat down heavily. She thought about the Miller family, about parents who would never see their children again, about flowers scattered in the grass. We broadcast it on all diplomatic channels. Make sure every alien government hears it. The message is simple. You killed our children. We warned you. No more warnings. Within 6 hours, the new orders reached every human ship and colony in space. The message was clear and simple. Zephyrian military vessels were now kill on sight. No exceptions. No mercy. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had one rule that could never be broken. Nobody hurts their children and lives to tell about it. Captain Ryan Torres received the new orders while his ship was patrolling near the Titan mining stations. The message was short and clear. All Zephyrian military vessels were now considered hostile. Engage on sight. No warnings required. Ryan had commanded the patrol ship Guardian's Edge for 3 years. He was 35 years old and had never fired his weapons at another intelligent species. The Colonial Defense Force had always been about protection and peace. But that was before 7 children died in a field on New Eden. His crew of 22 sailors had read the same reports everyone else had. They had seen the security footage. They knew about Bobby Miller trying to protect his brothers and sisters. They knew about little Amy running forward with flowers in her hands. "Captain," called Lieutenant Danny Walsh from the sensor station. "Contact bearing 270. Single vessel. Configuration matches Zephyrian Scout class." Ryan stood up from his captain's chair. His heart started beating faster. "Distance? 50,000 kilometers and closing. They're not responding to standard identification requests." "Are they armed?" "Yes, sir. Standard Zephyrian military loadout, plasma cannons and missile launchers." Ryan looked around his small bridge. His crew was young. Most had joined the Colonial Defense Force to explore space and protect mining operations. Now they were about to become soldiers in a war that started with dead children. "All hands, this is the captain," Ryan announced over the ship's communication system. "We have a Zephyrian military vessel approaching. As of 72 hours ago, all such vessels are considered hostile under General Order 77. We will engage according to our new rules of engagement. This is not a drill." Ryan turned to his weapons officer, Sergeant Mike Coleman. "Charge all weapons. Prepare to fire on my command." "Sir," Mike said quietly. "Are we really going to shoot first?" "They shot first, Sergeant. They shot 7 kids who were bringing them flowers. Now we follow orders." The Zephyrian scout ship continued toward them. It was smaller than Guardian's Edge, but faster and more heavily armed. Zephyrian military ships were built for fighting. Human ships were built for exploring and defending. "Captain," Danny called out. "They're trying to communicate. Put them on screen." The main display showed a Zephyrian officer in the gray uniform Ryan had seen in the security footage from New Eden. The alien's black eyes stared at him without emotion. "Human vessel. This is Commander Toll Kix of the Zephyrian Deep Space Patrol. You are in violation of treaty boundaries. Withdraw immediately or face military action." Ryan felt cold anger in his stomach. The alien was threatening him the same way their soldiers had threatened 7 children. "Commander, you are in human protected space. Leave now. We do not recognize human authority in this sector. Stand down your weapons." Ryan looked at his crew. Danny Walsh was 19 years old. Mike Coleman had a wife and 2 young children. Back on Earth, Communications Officer Sarah Kim was fresh out of the Naval Academy. None of them had signed up to fight wars, but none of them had forgotten the photos of 7 small bodies in a field. "Commander Toll Kix," Ryan said slowly. 72 hours ago, your people murdered 7 human children. They were unarmed. They were offering flowers as gifts. Your government called it proper military procedure. I am not aware of this incident. It is not relevant to our current situation. It's very relevant. Those children's names were Bobby, Katie, Sam, Emma, Luke, Amy, and Timmy Miller. They died because your people shoot first and ask questions never. Human captain, withdraw your vessel, or we will open fire." Ryan looked at the picture on his desk. It was a photo of his nephew, playing in his backyard on Earth. The boy was 8 years old, the same age as Luke Miller had been. Ryan thought about what would happen if alien soldiers landed in that backyard. He thought about his nephew running forward with flowers. "All stations, battle ready," Ryan commanded. "Target their weapons and engines." "Captain," the Zephyrian officer said. "This is your final warning." "No," Ryan replied. "This is yours. You want to know what happens when you kill our children? You're about to find out." Ryan turned to Mike Coleman. "Fire!" Guardian's Edge opened fire with everything it had. Laser cannons and missile launchers sent death across 50,000 kilometers of space. The human weapons hit the Zephyrian scout ship before it could react. The alien ship's shields flared bright blue, then collapsed. Human missiles punched through the hull in 3 places. The ship's weapons exploded in brilliant flashes. Its engines went dark. "Direct hits on target," Mike reported. "Their weapons are down. Engines offline." The Zephyrian ship was drifting powerless in space. On the main screen, Commander Toll Kix was standing in smoke and sparks. His gray face showed surprise for the first time. "Human vessel, we surrender. Request immediate assistance." Ryan stood up and walked closer to the screen. "Commander, do you remember what you told me about proper military procedure?" "Captain, we have wounded aboard. We need medical assistance." "Did Bobby Miller get medical assistance?" Did little Amy get help when she was bleeding in the grass? I do not understand. Who are these humans you speak of? They were 7 children your people murdered 3 days ago, and you know what your ambassador told us? He said it was proper procedure. No crime was committed. Ryan turned to his weapons officer. Mike, finish it. Sir? You heard the order, Sergeant. The second barrage from Guardian's Edge lasted 10 seconds. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the Zephyrian scout ship except glowing metal and frozen air. Ryan sat back in his captain's chair and activated his ship's communication system. Command, this is Guardian's Edge. Mission accomplished. 1 Zephyrian military vessel destroyed. No survivors. The response came back in 30 minutes. Well done, Captain Torres. Return to base for debriefing. But before Ryan could change course, another message came through. This one was marked urgent and came directly from Zephyrian High Command on their home world. Human Colonial Command. This is General Morvex of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. We demand an immediate explanation for the unprovoked attack on our patrol vessel. This act of aggression will not be tolerated. The response from Earth came 6 hours later. It was broadcast on all diplomatic channels so every alien race in the galaxy could hear it. General Morvex, this is President Helen Davis of Earth. Your patrol vessel was destroyed because it was in human space and your people are now classified as hostile. 3 days ago, your soldiers murdered 7 human children who were offering them flowers. When we asked for justice, you called it proper procedure. We warned you that any military vessel in our space would be destroyed. Captain Torres followed his orders exactly. The message continued. You killed our children. We warned you. No more warnings. Ryan Torres read the report later and smiled for the first time in 3 days. The galaxy was about to learn that humans keep their promises, especially promises made over the graves of children. Word spread through space faster than light travel. Humanity had drawn a line and enforced it with weapons. The peaceful explorers were peaceful no more. General Morvex was not used to losing ships. In 40 years of military service, the Zephyrian Empire had never lost a vessel to human forces. Humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be afraid. But Commander Tolkix was dead. His entire crew was dead. A human patrol ship had destroyed them without mercy or hesitation. The reports from the battle made no sense to Morvex. How could one small human ship defeat a Zephyrian scout vessel so easily? Morvex stood in the command center of his flagship, the Vengeance of Coal. Around him, his staff officers worked at glowing control panels. The ship was massive, 3 times larger than any human vessel. It carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Bring up the tactical display, Morvex ordered. The holographic map showed human space as a collection of blue dots. 47 colonies scattered across 50 star systems. Most were small mining operations or farming settlements. Only Earth itself had serious military defenses. How many ships do the humans have? Morvex asked his intelligence officer. 60 vessels total, General. Most are patrol ships or cargo haulers with basic weapons. Nothing that should threaten our battle cruisers. Then why did we lose the Deep Scout 7? The battle report suggests the humans have improved their weapons technology. Their targeting systems appear more accurate than our previous intelligence indicated. Morvex studied the display. The humans had spread their colonies in a long line toward the galactic rim. If he deployed Battle Group 7 at the Centauri jump gate, he could cut off half their colonies from Earth. A show of force would make them reconsider their hostile position. Send orders to Battle Group 7. They will proceed to human space and establish a blockade at Centauri. Any human vessel attempting to pass will be destroyed. Sir, his aide said carefully. Should we warn the humans first? No warnings. They chose to make this a military matter when they killed Commander Tolkix. Now they will learn what happens when you challenge the Zephyrian Empire. Battle Group 7 consisted of 12 ships, 6 battle cruisers, 4 destroyers, and 2 support vessels. Over 3,000 Zephyrian soldiers and enough weapons to level a planet. The largest military force the Empire had ever sent against humans. The battle group reached the Centauri jump gate 18 hours later. Commander Hex Null, leading from the battlecruiser Iron Fist, deployed his ships in attack formation. Any human vessel trying to use the jump gate would face overwhelming firepower. "Sir," reported his sensor officer. "Human ships approaching. Multiple contacts." Hex Null looked at his tactical display. 15 human vessels were coming toward the jump gate. Most were patrol ships like the one that had killed Tolkix. A few were larger, possibly destroyers or light cruisers. "Only 15 ships?" Hex Null laughed. "They must think we're as weak as their children." Leading the human fleet was Commander Alex Murphy aboard the destroyer New Hope. Murphy was 42 years old and had been fighting pirates and raiders for most of his career. He had never commanded a fleet in a real battle, but he had seen the footage from New Eden Colony. He had watched 7 children die for offering flowers. "Sir," called his communications officer, Lieutenant Jenny Ross, "the Zephyrians are trying to contact us." "Put them through." Commander Hex Null appeared on the main screen. His gray face showed the same cold arrogance Murphy had seen in all Zephyrian officers. "Human Commander, I am Hex Null of the Zephyrian. Imperial Fleet, you will withdraw your vessels immediately. This system is now under Zephyrian control." Murphy looked around his bridge. His crew was tense but ready. They all knew what was at stake. If the Zephyrians controlled Centauri, they could attack human colonies one by one. "Commander Hex Null, this is Alex Murphy of the Human Colonial Defense Force. You are in human space. You have one chance to leave peacefully. You dare threaten us? We have 12 warships. You have 15 patrol boats. We have 15 ships full of humans who remember 7 dead children. You have 12 ships full of child killers." Hex Null's black eyes narrowed. "Your children died because they were stupid enough to approach Zephyrian soldiers. Natural selection at work." Murphy felt rage burn in his chest. Around him, his bridge crew grew very quiet. In the fleet channel, he could hear other human captains breathing hard. "All ships," Murphy said into his fleet communicator. "Remember Bobby Miller. Remember Katie. Remember Sam, Emma, Luke, Amy, and little Timmy. They died because these aliens think killing children is proper procedure. Today we show them what proper procedure really looks like." The human fleet attacked without warning. 15 ships opened fire at the same time, concentrating their weapons on the largest Zephyrian vessels. Human missiles and laser beams crossed space in a deadly light show. The Zephyrians had expected easy victory against inferior opponents. Instead, they found themselves fighting humans who attacked with cold fury and perfect coordination. Human targeting systems were more accurate than Zephyrian intelligence had suggested. Human weapons hit harder than expected. The battlecruiser Iron Fist took direct hits from 4 human ships. Its shields collapsed in seconds. Explosions ripped through the hull as human missiles found ammunition storage and engine compartments. "All vessels concentrate fire on the command ship," Murphy ordered. The human fleet focused their attack on Iron Fist. Commander Hex Null watched his ship die around him. Control panels exploded in showers of sparks. His crew was screaming orders that no one could follow. "Retreat," Hex Null shouted. "All ships withdraw." But it was too late. The human fleet had spread out to surround the Zephyrian formation. Every time a Zephyrian ship tried to escape, human vessels were waiting. The battle became a slaughter. Murphy watched as enemy ships exploded one by one. Each flash of light was justice for 7 children who would never grow up. Each destroyed vessel was payment for flowers scattered in the grass. The battle lasted 23 minutes. When it ended, 11 Zephyrian ships were destroyed. Only 1 escort vessel escaped, badly damaged and running for home. "Damage report," Murphy called out. 2 ships with minor hull damage, Jenny reported. "No casualties in the fleet." Murphy looked at the wreckage floating in space. Thousands of Zephyrian soldiers were dead. Their mighty battle group was gone, and not one human had died. "Sir," Jenny said quietly, "we're receiving a message from Earth. President Davis wants a full report." Murphy sat back in his command chair. He thought about the Miller children and their parents. He thought about flowers and crayon drawings and little voices saying hello to strangers. "Tell the president that Battle Group 7 no longer exists. The Centauri system remains under human control, and remind her to send this message to every alien government in the galaxy. What message, sir? We told you what would happen if you killed our children. We kept our word. The news of the battle reached Zephyrian High Command 6 hours later. General Morvex read the report 3 times before he believed it. His entire battle group was gone, destroyed by humans who were supposed to be weak and afraid. For the first time in his military career, Morvex began to wonder if the Zephyrian Empire had made a terrible mistake. Emperor Kolthon had ruled the Zephyrian Empire for 23 years. In all that time, no enemy had ever destroyed an entire battle group. Now the humans had done it in less than 30 minutes. The Emperor sat in his throne room on the capital, world of Zephyr Prime. The room was huge and dark, built to make visitors feel small and afraid. Tall pillars reached up to a ceiling lost in shadows. Guards in black armor stood at attention along the walls. Explain to me how this happened, Kolthon said to General Morvex. The general stood before the throne, his gray face pale with shame. The humans fought differently than expected, my emperor. Their coordination was perfect. Their weapons were more advanced than our intelligence suggested. 12 ships, General. 12 of our finest warships destroyed by human patrol boats. The humans appear to have been hiding their true military capabilities. Our previous encounters suggested they were peaceful explorers with basic defensive weapons. Kolthon stood up from his throne. He was taller than most Zephyrians, with scars on his face from battles fought long ago. Or perhaps our military has grown soft from conquering weak opponents. Around the galaxy, other alien species were watching the conflict with growing interest. The Altarians had been enemies of the Zephyrian Empire for decades. They sent secret messages to human diplomatic posts offering weapons and supplies. Ambassador Veltarn of the Centauri Republic met with human representatives on the neutral station Harmony Point. We have watched the Zephyrians expand their territory for 50 years, she told the human diplomat. Always they claim their actions are proper military procedure. Always they refuse to admit wrongdoing. Captain Maya Johnson commanded the deep space reconnaissance ship Far Horizon. Her mission was to gather intelligence on Zephyrian fleet movements. What she found surprised everyone. Captain's log, day 47, Maya spoke into her ship's recorder. Long-range sensors show massive movement in Zephyrian space. Multiple fleet formations are withdrawing from contested border regions. This appears to be a general retreat, not a tactical repositioning. Maya was 38 years old and had spent 15 years in deep space. She knew how to read military movements. The Zephyrians were not regrouping for attack, they were running. Lieutenant Chen, Maya called to her sensor officer. How many ships are we tracking? Over 200 vessels, Captain. They're pulling back from all forward positions. Some are heading for the core systems. Maya studied the tactical display. Zephyrian forces had been advancing steadily for years, taking territory from smaller alien governments. Now they were giving up ground they had held for decades. Send, a coded message to Colonial Command. The Zephyrians are in full retreat across multiple sectors. Something has them scared. The message that scared them was spreading through Zephyrian space faster than their ships could retreat. Human forces had destroyed Battle Group 7 without losing a single vessel. The mighty Zephyrian Empire had been beaten by humans fighting for their dead children. On the Zephyrian homeworld, protests were growing in the major cities. Citizens who had never questioned military decisions were asking why their soldiers had killed human children. The footage from New Eden Colony was being shown on underground networks. Why did we shoot the little ones? Asked a Zephyrian civilian, named Kolvex, during a secret meeting in the capital city. They were bringing flowers. Even our own children bring flowers to their elders. The military had always told the people that other species were dangerous and hostile. But the security footage showed 7 small humans offering gifts and drawings. It showed alien soldiers killing children who smiled and laughed and ran in circles. Dr. Sophie White sat in her office at the Colonial Research Institute on Earth. She was humanity's leading expert on alien psychology. News reporters came to her for explanations about why the conflict was spreading. The Zephyrians made a critical error in judgment, Sophie told the reporters. They assumed that killing human children would make us afraid and submissive. Instead, it activated our most powerful instinct, the protection of our young. "But why are other alien species supporting us?" asked one reporter. "Because every intelligent species understands the bond between parent and child. The Zephyrians violated the most basic rule of civilized behavior. They killed children who were trying to be friendly." Sophie pulled up a chart on her computer screen. "Look at the diplomatic messages we've received. The Altarians, the Centauri Republic, the Vegan Collective, even the usually neutral Andromedans. They're all expressing support for our position." The reporter leaned forward. "What does this mean for the future?" "It means the Zephyrian Empire has lost more than ships and soldiers. They've lost moral authority. No one in the galaxy believes their claims about proper military procedure anymore." General Morvex received reports from across Zephyrian space. His commanders were asking for permission to withdraw from advanced positions. His intelligence officers reported growing unrest on the homeworlds. His supply officers warned that extended military operations were becoming impossible. "Sir," his aide said carefully, "perhaps we should consider negotiations with the humans." Morvex turned to stare at the young officer. "Negotiations? We are the Zephyrian Empire. We do not negotiate with inferior species. With respect, General, the humans have proven they are not inferior. They've destroyed 13 of our ships while losing none of their own." Morvex walked to the window of his command center. Outside, he could see the construction yards where new warships were being built. But building ships took time. Training new crews took time. The humans were growing stronger every day. "What are our allies saying?" Morvex asked. "The Corvin Syndicate has declared neutrality. The Rigel Confederation is reconsidering their defense treaties with us. Even our client states are questioning our military strength. For the first time in decades, the Zephyrian Empire was alone. Their allies were abandoning them. Their enemies were circling like predators. And the humans kept fighting with the fury of parents protecting their children." Maya Johnson's ship detected something unusual near the edge of human space. A small Zephyrian vessel was broadcasting on diplomatic frequencies. It was requesting safe passage to meet with human representatives. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen reported, "the ship is carrying Ambassador Quintal, the same Zephyrian who spoke to President Davis after the children were killed." Maya remembered that conversation. The ambassador had called the massacre a misunderstanding and refused to admit any wrongdoing. Now he was coming back. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them the Zephyrians want to talk. And tell them I recommend they listen. Because our intelligence suggests the Zephyrian Empire is falling apart from the inside." Emperor Kolthon read the reports from his military commanders and civilian governors. The Empire was facing its worst crisis in 300 years. Military morale was collapsing. Civilian populations were questioning government policies. Allied governments were demanding explanations, all because 7 human children had offered flowers to the wrong soldiers. The Emperor looked at his advisors gathered around the throne room. "Prepare a message to the human government. We will request a peace conference." "My Emperor," General Morvex said, "such action would be seen as weakness." "General, we have already shown weakness. We showed it when we lost 13 ships to an enemy we thought was helpless. Now we must decide whether we want to lose 13 more or admit that killing children was wrong." The message went out 6 hours later. For the first time in Zephyrian history, the Empire was asking for peace, with an enemy they had attacked first. The galaxy watched and waited to see how the humans would respond. 6 months after 7 children died in a field on New Eden Colony, the most important meeting in galactic history was about to begin. Harmony Point Station orbited a neutral star on the edge of known space. Representatives from dozens of alien governments had come to witness what many called the trial of the century. President Helen Davis arrived aboard the battleship Constitution, escorted by 12 human warships. She was not taking any chances. The Zephyrians had already proven they would kill children without warning. Emperor Kolthon came in his personal flagship, the Pride of Zephyr. Only 2 escort vessels accompanied him. The once mighty Zephyrian fleet was scattered across their territory, trying to maintain order as their empire crumbled from within. But the most important passengers on the human ships were John and Mary Miller. The parents of the 7 dead children had insisted on coming to the peace talks. They wanted to look into the eyes of the aliens who had destroyed their family. Helen Davis met with the Miller parents in her private quarters before the negotiations began. John Miller was 42 years old, a farmer who had never been off New Eden Colony before this trip. Mary Miller was 39, a teacher who had spent her life helping children learn and grow. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Helen asked them. "Seeing the people responsible for what happened to your children will be very difficult." John Miller looked out the window at the stars. His face was older than it had been 6 months ago. Grief had carved deep lines around his eyes. "Madam President, our children died because those aliens thought killing kids was acceptable. If we don't face them now, other children might die later." Mary Miller held her husband's hand. "Bobby always said we should stand up to bullies. He was only 14, but he was wise. We're here for him and Katie and Sam and Emma and Luke and Amy and little Timmy." The main conference room on Harmony Point was enormous. Representatives from 43 different alien species sat around a circular table. Cameras broadcast the meeting to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Emperor Kolthon entered first, followed by his advisors and military officers. The Emperor was tall and imposing, but he moved like someone carrying a heavy burden. Behind him walked Commander Vex Cole, the soldier who had led the patrol that killed the Miller children. President Davis entered with her delegation. John and Mary Miller walked beside her, wearing simple black clothes. They looked small compared to the alien dignitaries, but everyone in the room could feel their presence. "This conference is called to order," announced Ambassador Feltorin of the Neutral Andromedan Collective. "We are here to address the incident on New Eden Colony and its aftermath." Emperor Kolthon stood up to speak first. His voice was steady, but lacked the arrogance that had marked previous Zephyrian statements. 6 months ago, a Zephyrian patrol unit encountered human civilians on the colony world of New Eden. Following standard military procedures, the soldiers classified the approaching humans as potential threats and eliminated them. 7 individuals died in this incident. Helen Davis stood up immediately. Those 7 individuals were children. The youngest was 6 years old. They were carrying flowers and drawings as gifts. There was no threat except in the minds of soldiers trained to kill first and ask questions never. The soldiers followed. "Proper procedure according to Zephyrian military doctrine," Kolthon replied. John Miller rose from his seat. The room went quiet as the grieving father faced the emperor of the species that had killed his children. "Your Majesty," John said quietly, "I want you to know their names. Bobby was 14. He loved to read books about space exploration and dreamed of becoming a pilot. Katie was 12. She wanted to be a teacher like her mother. Sam was 10 and could fix any machine on our farm. Emma was 9 and painted beautiful pictures of flowers and birds. Luke was 8 and made up songs that made everyone laugh. Amy was 6 and gave the best hugs in the galaxy. Timmy was 7 and believed that everyone in the universe could be friends if they just talked to each other." John's voice broke, but he continued. "They ran to your soldiers with flowers because that's how we taught them to greet visitors. They died because your people don't understand the difference between a threat and a gift." Emperor Kolthon looked down at the table. For the first time in his life, he felt something that might have been shame. Mary Miller stood up beside her. "Husband, your soldiers took 7 futures from the universe. 7 children who would have grown up to be doctors and teachers and farmers and maybe even diplomats who could have prevented wars like this one." Commander Vex Cole spoke for the first time. "I was the officer in charge of the patrol. We detected movement approaching our position. Standard protocol required threat elimination." "Standard protocol," Helen Davis said coldly. "Your standard protocol is to murder children. We could not determine their intent." John Miller walked around the table until he stood directly in front of Vex Cole. The human farmer looked up at the tall alien soldier. "My children's intent was to welcome you to their home. Their intent was to share the beauty of flowers that grew in our soil. Their intent was to show you a drawing that my son Luke made of our family because he was proud of where he came from. John pulled out a folded piece of paper from his pocket. It was Luke's drawing, stained with grass and dirt from the field, where the children died. This is what my 8-year-old son wanted to show your soldiers. Look at it. Vex Cole took the drawing with shaking hands. It showed stick figures of a family standing in front of a house. A yellow sun shone overhead. At the bottom, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "My Family," by Luke Miller. Your son drew this? Vex Cole asked quietly. The morning he died. He was excited about showing it to the visitors from space. Vex Cole stared at the drawing for a long time. Around the conference room, representatives from dozens of alien species watched in complete silence. I have children, Vex Cole said finally. 2 sons on Zephyr Prime. They draw pictures like this. Then you understand, Mary Miller said. You understand what you took from us. Emperor Colthon stood up again. His voice was different now, quieter, and more human. The Zephyrian Empire offers formal apologies to the families of the children who died on New Eden Colony. We acknowledge that our military procedures were wrong. We request negotiations for a permanent peace treaty. Helen Davis looked at John and Mary Miller. They nodded slightly. The human government accepts your apology as a first step, Helen said. But apologies are not enough. We require justice and guarantees that this will never happen again. The negotiations took 3 days. In the end, the Zephyrian Empire agreed to unprecedented terms. Commander Vex Cole and his surviving soldiers would face trial in human courts. The Empire would pay reparations to the Miller family and fund education programs on New Eden Colony. Most importantly, they would help establish new galactic laws protecting non-combatants. The final ceremony took place in the same conference room where the talks began. Representatives from every major alien government signed the 7 Stars Doctrine, named after the 7 Miller children. The new law made attacks on non-combatants a crime against all civilized species. John Miller spoke the final words of the conference. His voice carried across the galaxy to billions of listeners on thousands of worlds. Our children are gone, but their deaths were not meaningless. Today we've created something that will protect other children on other worlds. Bobby and Katie and Sam and Emma and Luke and Amy and Timmy would be proud. He held up Luke's drawing. One more time. This is what my son wanted to show the universe. A picture of a family under a bright sun. Today that family includes every species that signed this agreement. Today we're all part of the same family. The 7 Stars Doctrine became the foundation of a new galactic order. Humanity had earned its place not through conquest, but through the simple truth that some things are worth fighting for. Children everywhere, on every world, were safer, because 7 young humans had run across a field with flowers in their hands. The galaxy had learned that humans would do anything to protect their children, and that lesson changed everything.